He's a person, he's not a dad. Maybe by blood, but nothing else.
That's Trinity Rodman, describing her hostile relationship with her father, NBA legend Dennis Rodman. But she's not alone, because today we're diving deep into the painful, complicated stories of 5 athletes whose children have expressed hurt, disappointment, and in some cases, complete disconnect. And some of these accounts will genuinely shock you. 1. Karl Malone. We begin with one of the most dominant power forwards in NBA history. Karl Malone is remembered as the mailman, a 2-time MVP who delivered night after night for the Utah Jazz, racking up over 36,000 career points. But there's a delivery he famously refused to make: being present for his own children.
I am no different. Matter of fact, my flaws is probably 20 times worse than other people.
The most troubling story involves his son, Demetrius Bell, and the circumstances of his birth are deeply disturbing. When Malone was 20 years old and playing at Louisiana Tech, he impregnated a young Gloria Bell. And despite a paternity suit and confidential settlement that kept him out of legal trouble, Malone refused any relationship with the son that resulted from this pregnancy encounter. When his son, Demetrius, finally summoned the courage to reach out at 18 years old, hoping to connect with his biological father, Malone coldly told Demetrius it was simply too late to build a relationship. Years later, Malone would hint at regret without ever fully addressing his failures. Meanwhile, Demetrius carved out his own path, going on to play in the NFL for the Buffalo Bills and Philadelphia Eagles. Interestingly, he ended up building stronger ties with his half-siblings, Cheryl and Daryl Ford, Katie, Kylie, KJ, and Carrie Malone, than he ever could with his biological father. Demetrius has stated publicly that he holds no bitterness, but the decades of absence speak volumes about the relationship that never was. And Demetrius wasn't Malone's only child born under controversial circumstances. Malone also fathered twins, Cheryl and Daryl Ford, with 17-year-old Bonita Ford initially denying paternity until legal confirmation forced acknowledgement in the 1990s. Cheryl eventually became a WNBA star with the Detroit Shock, and while she's noted an improved adult relationship with her father, those formative years of abandonment and denial left permanent scars that no amount of late-life reconciliation can fully heal. 2. Dennis Rodman. If Karl Malone's story is about having children outside of marriage and not being close to them, then Dennis Rodman's is characterized by something arguably more painful: broken promises repeated over and over, and hope raised and crushed over and over again. The 5-time NBA champion and rebounding specialist lived one of the most colorful lives in sports history: the hair, the wedding dress, the friendship with North Korean dictators. But while the world watched Rodman's antics with amusement, his daughter Trinity was watching with a very different emotion: heartbreak. Trinity Rodman, now an Olympic gold medalist with the U.S. women's national team and one of the brightest stars in women's soccer, has been unflinchingly honest about her father's shortcomings. In a podcast appearance that left viewers stunned, she didn't hold back when she spoke about the man who gave her his famous last name but little else.
In reality, I think he's an extremely selfish human being. I think everything has always been about him.
Trinity described how financial support stopped immediately after her parents' 2012 divorce, leaving her family in such a terrible crisis that they actually lived in their car for a period of time. And where was Dennis during this crisis? He was partying, hosting events, and bringing random women around while his children struggled. By the end of 2012, Rodman owed over $850,000 in child support. Perhaps the most gut-wrenching part of Trinity's story was the cycle of hope and disappointment.
That was me every single time. He would come around and I'd be like, okay, here it is again. We're going to start something. He's going to be around. Boom, months and months and months. This time it was years.
She recounted how Rodman showed up unexpectedly at her 2021 NWSL semifinal after months of complete silence, making a dramatic appearance that generated headlines. He promised to stay connected, to finally be present. Then he vanished again for years. Rodman eventually issued a public apology in 2024, attempting to fix things through Instagram. But Trinity's response on social media made her position crystal clear: apologies without sustained action mean absolutely nothing. 3. Julius Erving. From one basketball legend to another, we turn to a man whose grace on the court was unmatched. Julius Erving, famously known as Dr. J, revolutionized basketball with his aerial artistry, pioneering a style of play that would influence generations of players from Michael Jordan to LeBron James. But for 27 years, Julius Erving kept a secret that would eventually become front-page news and force him to confront a failure he'd spent decades hiding. In 1980, at the height of his fame, Erving fathered a daughter named Alexandra Stevenson through an extramarital affair with journalist Samantha Stevenson. Terrified of the damage this revelation could cause to his carefully cultivated public image and his marriage, Erving met Alexandra only once as a toddler at a basketball clinic and then deliberately disappeared from her life entirely, choosing his reputation over his daughter. For nearly 3 decades, Alexandra grew up knowing her father was one of the most famous athletes in the world, yet she was unable to have any relationship with him. The secret finally exploded in spectacular fashion during Alexandra's breakthrough 1999 Wimbledon run, when her parentage became international news. Erving was forced to admit paternity publicly, and Alexandra, who would go on to reach a career-high tennis ranking of number 18, finally got the chance to speak about the pain of his calculated absence. In a revealing ESPN interview, she asked the question that had haunted her entire childhood. "Why didn't I call him? Because I thought he should call me. He's the grown-up." The reunion didn't come quickly, even after the secret was out. They finally connected meaningfully in 2008, when Alexandra was already 27 years old, a full adult who had built her life without him. Erving described the experience of finally embracing his daughter as feeling like winning a championship, a bittersweet experience given all the actual championships he had prioritized over being present in her life. 4. Scottie Pippen. Speaking of championships, only a few players have more rings than Scottie Pippen. He won 6 championships, won Olympic gold, and entered the Hall of Fame immortality. But for his daughter, Taylor Pippen, none of that mattered because to her, Scottie Pippen isn't a legend. He's the father who never wanted her. In 1994, Pippen's ex-girlfriend, Sonia Roby, gave birth to twins Taylor and Tyler, but tragedy struck immediately when Tyler died just 9 days after birth. And instead of stepping up during this devastating time, Pippen made a choice that would define his relationship with his surviving daughter. For decades, he denied paternity entirely. Even after court-ordered DNA tests confirmed beyond any doubt that he was Taylor's biological father, Pippen still chose to have no personal relationship with her. Financial support came only through legal compulsion, but emotional support, presence, and acknowledgement never followed. Now, an adult making her own way as a volleyball player, Taylor has spoken candidly about how this rejection shaped her. In a podcast interview exploring her identity beyond her famous last name, she revealed just how complicated her relationship with the Pippen legacy truly is.
It's like an ick for me when they're like a fan of my dad. I don't know why, and I hate that it's that way, but
That's true.
It's an ick for me. It's a major ick.
The pain behind those words becomes clear when you understand the context. Taylor has shared publicly that he never wanted to meet her, a rejection that left her feeling fundamentally unwanted by the man whose DNA she carries. Recent social media posts from Pippen, including messages saying, "Love you," suggest some attempt at belated outreach. But after decades of rejection, the damage isn't easily undone. Some wounds don't heal just because someone finally decides to acknowledge you exist. 5. Cecil Fielder. Sometimes, paternal wounds cut deepest when money becomes the weapon. Cecil Fielder was a power-hitting MLB first baseman who led the league in home runs during the 1990s. His son, Prince, followed him into baseball, becoming an all-star in his own right. But for a decade, they didn't speak. The rift stemmed from Cecil's divorce from Prince's mother, allegations of physical and mental abuse, and, most devastatingly, Cecil taking $200,000 from Prince's $2.4 million signing bonus to fuel his gambling addiction. Prince publicly declared his father dead to him. Think about that betrayal. Your own father is stealing from your future to feed his addiction. The trust was shattered completely. They tried to reconcile around 2013 with shared public appearances by 2016, including MLB Network interviews where they discussed their hitting styles. This father-son duo uniquely both hit 50-plus home runs in a season, a baseball achievement that should have bonded them forever. Instead, gambling nearly destroyed everything. Fame doesn't guarantee good parenting, and championships don't teach you how to be present. Money can provide financial support, but it can't buy back the years of absence, the missed birthdays, the empty seats at graduations. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.